Hi Fox, how are you doing? Let us see just another game from these Blitz games, another of these Blitz games of Zurich 2014 tournament. In this game, this is, I think it was the last of this little mini tournament of fast games. We're gonna see the game between Hikaru Nakamura with white and Magnus Carlsen with black. So there we go. E4, E5. Pretty classical stuff. D4, the 4-knight Scotch. More or less a safe option to get out of opening, and you know, this is all very old and well-known theory. Bishop b4, knight takes, b takes, bishop d3 to protect, e4, castle, d5, takes, bishop g5. This has been played thousands of times. So the pawn is under attack on d5, so c6, and now knight a4 was played by Nakamura. This is according to my database, this is the second most popular option after queen f3. And well, I'm pretty sure there is lots of much better plans than what Nakamura played here. At least I guess so, because otherwise this knight a4 move would be rather suspicious, because this piece on a4 is going to be I would say the main problem for White's position, and one of the reasons probably the main reason he was going to lose the game, because it's now the knight on a4 is going to be very passive, very bad, and it's going to take lots of moves for him to get back in the game. And I guess White once again has lots of better plans than what we're going to see in the game. Maybe some theoretical experts could help us. Would appreciate it. But now bishop d6, then the bishop goes back, as it seems he doesn't have much to do on b4 anymore. c3, and once again this is the knight I want to highlight. It seems rather bad piece there. It doesn't have any square to go to without being captured right now. So well, not a great piece, it seems, at the first sight at least. Now some normal moves, bishop rook e8 and bishop h4, I guess to try to exchange this nice looking bishop on d6. White is trying to exchange his own bishop. I don't know, it's a plan, not sure if good or bad, but it's a plan. Bishop g4, quite sensible. f3 was played by Nakamura. Another option I guess was to play queen c2, attacking h7, as the knight on f6 is not really protecting because it's pinned. So, but I guess, I mean, h6 and no problems for black. There shouldn't be much problems. So f3 was played here. Another move possible. Bishop h5, and now he plays queen c2, attacking there. h6 once again I guess is possible, but Carlsen prefers to put the bishop there on g6. It's okay. Rook a e1. Well, of course you could take on g6 first if you're not comfortable with that bishop on g6. Take rook a e1, another perfectly sensible move. And now queen c7. It's black's turn to attack the h pawn. And here, well, it comes a little weird looking move, at least at my humble view. I mean, g4 is a little bit, I mean, it weakens the king side maybe a little. I don't know, I probably wouldn't have played this, but once again, these are top GMs and this is Blitz game, so not much we can criticize. Of course, I'm here just to try to learn. So g4 probably I wouldn't have played, and maybe one of the reasons that Nakamura plays this kind of move, I'm sure he would prefer to play another kind of move, was probably something like, I mean, if h3, maybe something like bishop there, and probably maybe there is too much pressure on the dark squares after bishop takes, h takes, and if knight, I mean bishop f2 say, and if knight here, now white knight compared to this bishop, things are pretty much clear that black is better. So dark squares might be a little too too weak. But don't know. I mean, g4 seems a little bit artificial as well. And in fact, you're not even protecting with the queen on h2, because after bishop takes, you'll have to take with the queen, so the h2 pawn will be hanging once again. Here black took, and here knight d7 was played by Carlsen. Interesting. He didn't take on h2, but I think it's perfectly playable. Check, king g2, and the bishop goes back to e5, protecting f6, so not to double pawns in case white takes, but I don't know. Black looks fine to me. Maybe there were some kind of tricky attacks with this rook h1 and attacking on the h file maybe, but I don't think there is really that much to compensate the pawn. But anyway, Magnus prefers to develop his pieces, to improve his pieces, knight d7. He doesn't want to give, for instance, white the chance to take and double his pawns. So now queen c2, Nakamura goes back to protect the pawn, and the knight f8. It's protecting h7, which is an important, which is not, I mean, it's a secondary role, and it's going to be relocated via probably e6 or maybe even g6. Rook takes e8 was played here by Hikaru. Rook takes, and now rook e1. He's willing to exchange rooks and probably try to play for a draw, as he realizes he can't be possibly better here. And now, well, I think taking on e1 was pretty much once again good. I mean, bishop takes, knight e6, and black is looking absolutely fine to me. I mean, the white knight on a4 is still quite back, so I think black is doing nice here. But Carlsen didn't take it, so he went to b8, king g2, and once again Magnus prefers to improve his knight. He goes to knight e6. I mean, what if bishop takes h2? Probably, or maybe not, I don't know, rook h1, bishop d6, and once again you have this more or less trick attacks on h7, but the knight is still there guarding h7. I don't know. This should be better for black, at least at my humble point of view, but there it goes. Magnus, the world champion, plays knight e6, so it can't be bad. Bishop g3, and now c5. Nice looking pawns for Carlsen. b3. Try to avoid these pawns being very dangerous. But anyway, c4 is played, and here rook d1 was played by Nakamura. Of course, taking on g4. Now taking on c4. Looks that black is getting lots of activity after bishop takes, h takes g3, queen takes c4. White has some important weaknesses, and black is much more active here. I guess this should be advantage for black, some real advantage. But instead, I don't know, b4 was maybe an alternative. I'm not sure what is black's plan. What black's plan is to really get a better position or to improve to match his position. I don't know. I think this was an interesting alternative. Certainly not taking on c4. But rook d1 was played, which seems also good. He's attacking a pawn. Here c takes b3. Now you get a take. Your queen is under attack. And now d4. Now once again a couple of alternatives here for Nakamura. He took on d6. So of course taking on d4 not an option. Queen takes, and this is going to be very, very bad for white. This is 0-1 on the spot. Of course, but maybe c4, and well, I guess this pawn could be potentially a little bit dangerous for white, as black has his this interesting plan to play bishop f4 to try to go to bishop e3, protect that pawn and keep advancing it if possible. And of course, if white takes, now the knight is a monster here. King h1, say queen b7, and this looks pretty green for white. So that's why probably Nakamura took on d6, and now he took on d4. Now there is no more pin on the c file. Here, well, already black looks fine. I mean, at least he has a draw, I guess, because he's much more active. And just take a look at this knight, still on a4, still not very active. Compare it to the other knight, for instance. Knight f4 check. Of course, taking on d4, I think, I mean, it's a self-pin, queen d3 attacking the knight. rook d8, but it gives the chance to white to get back his knight, to revive his knight to c3, and well, I mean, not sure who is better or worse here, but at least white has equalized from a worse position. It seems so. So knight f4 check was played, king h1, and now queen d5, attacking a couple of pawns. Queen went to e4, attacking, well, the queen, offering a queen exchange and attacking the knight as well. Here, correctly, Magnus takes on b3, attacking at the same time the knight and the rook. Taking on e4, exchanging queens. Still was an interesting game, but maybe a little bit equal. I mean, very sharp yet, but the engine says at least it's equal. But hey, I would probably lose this with both colors. 99 of 100 games. Rook takes, knight c5, rook c3, and well, white has a bad king, badly placed, little weak, but it's compensated, I guess, with this strong passed pawn. Still, I guess, sharp, but the engine at least says this is equal, so probably super GMs would realize it. Instead, queen takes b3, as I said by Magnus, and now rook e1. Probably the move which decides the game. Now white is threatening to checkmate on the back rank, but black has a very nice move, g5, defending both black back rank and the knight on f4, which in fact was hanging. Let's see another possibilities. Instead of rook a1, probably the best was knight c3, defending the rook on d1, and if queen takes c3, white takes on f4, well, with a roughly equal game, I guess. Instead, taking on f4, of course, is not an option for white. Black takes the rook on d1, and I mean, this is very bad. So rook e1 was played, and this nice move, I like it very much, g5, protecting both the back rank and the knight, and now white is in lots of trouble. The knight goes to c5, attacking the queen, but now queen a2, attacking g2 square, checkmate is threatened, and the white king, as we can see, is an issue. Rook g1, and now nice move, knight h3. This is pretty much winning the game. You're attacking a check on f2, you're attacking the rook, and the best white has is to play knight d3. Let us see why. If he tries to get away with from the knight's attack, or to stop the check, say rook f1, black still has knight f2 check, forking the knight, and I mean forking the king and the queen. And if he takes, queen takes f2, and checkmate is in the air. So knight d3 was the best white had here, but of course black takes on g1, and here a nice trick by Nakamura, queen e5, attacking the rook, but once again a very interesting, cool and really nice move by Carlsen. Knight takes f3, attacks the queen and says, well, take my rook, I'm still winning. He's threatening checkmate on h2 in lots of cases. So queen takes b8 check, king g8, king g7, and once again black is threatening checkmate, but white has it controlled for the time being from the dark square diagonal. Knight e1 was played by white here, an interesting trick, and Magnus didn't fall for it. He went with the correct queen a1, in which now he's winning the knight in a much more safe way. The trick was that knight takes e1 was going to fall into queen e5 check, and say f6, queen e7 check, and after queen f7, white takes back the knight on e1, and is still struggling. I mean, there is still lots of game going on here. But after queen a1, the knight, there is no way to save it, so king g2, the knight takes on e1, of course, king f2, knight d3 check, king d3, queen c3, and the game is over. Nakamura resigned. So interesting game and cool way to finish this mini tournament of Blitz. Certainly Magnus didn't start it in the best way, but he finally struck back to lead the standings in the end, and tomorrow he, as a result, he will have white pieces against Boris Gelfand, I think. So let us see what the classical games will provide us. Hope to see lots of exciting and nice games here. Nice games there. See you there.